Welcome to the Nerd Party.
We were running wild and so reviled, raising Cain until we got exiled.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Missing Frames. This is the podcast where we watch all the movies we should have seen by this point in our lives. I'm your host, Shawn Eastridge. We're hanging out on the Nerd Party Network, a collection of podcasts dedicated to all things entertainment. Check us out at thenerdparty.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at JoinNerdParty and on Instagram at The Nerd Party. And like the Facebook page, it's just The Nerd Party. And today, my guests, we're getting into the spooky season, and we're getting into the spooky sequel season, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, guests. I've got two guests today. This is very exciting. So we have Sarah, my wife. Welcome.
Hello.
And for the first time in 4 years, we have Alexis Bethea returning to the show.
Hey, guys.
Hey, guys. It's a special spooky sequel episode. And the reason, Alexis, you are back here is because you've only done one episode of Missing Frames for a certain movie that I had not seen. What is that movie?
It is Hocus Pocus.
That's correct.
Which is a shame you haven't seen it until that point.
I know. And I did. It was thanks to you that now I can say I have seen Hocus Pocus. And now
And you haven't seen it since.
No.
I have not seen it since.
You were not a fan.
No, I was notoriously not a fan. So we're reunited because there is now a Hocus Pocus 2. And I went back and listened to our old episode. I think I'm the only one of the three. And there are many things I learned that I wanted to bring to the table this time around. First of all, I have a podcast, so this might go with the territory, but I talk way too much. On the one hand, I was very, very nasty towards Hocus Pocus. That's one thing I learned. The second thing I learned is we were vaguely aware of a Hocus Pocus sequel perhaps happening on what we referred to as a Disney streaming platform because
Really?
Disney Plus did not exist.
I kind of wish I had listened to the episode.
Yes. So this was 28. It was November 2018. So we must have recorded it right around.
So we saw the future.
We saw the future. Well, they had been talking about it for a while, but I don't think Disney Plus launched until 2019, and then COVID happened and everything went down a black hole, and I still don't know what's happening. But that was one thing I learned. Another thing I learned was that there was talk of a reboot, and you two were not having that.
Oh,
You two were very not into the idea.
I feel like
of
it's
a reboot.
ghosts of Hocus
Yeah,
Pocus past.
I
I'm like,
mean-
I don't remember what I said in that episode.
I could tell
hopes
you
are
two.
high.
I could tell you two that you said anything, and you wouldn't know whether or not
you
it
could
was
just be
true.
lying to us and be
I
like,
could be
wow.
lying about all of this.
So we didn't want, even with the original cast,
that
we were
was
like, no?
at
Or-
the time it sounded like they were talking about doing it without the original cast.
Oh, that's a hard no for me.
Well, it's a hard
They
no.
only brought back half.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a hard no for all of us. And I was even saying, like, what's the point? Like, what I said, I'm going to try to be a little bit kinder than the way I said it last time. But really, the appeal of Hocus Pocus are the three witches. And it's it's Bette Midler, it's Sarah Jessica Parker, and who's the third one? I can't remember.
Kathy and Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you. See, it's a good thing I have a film expert on my podcast. But I essentially said, I was like, well, they are the highlight. Like, the reason the movie exists and works on any level that anyone is fond of it is because of the three of them. If you take them out of it, what's the point? And so somebody listened to our Missing Frames episode and said, that's right, what is the point? So they brought those three back.
But only those three.
Only those three. So the
Yeah.
kids are not
Kids
there.
are not in it.
Thora
Thanks,
Birch
isn't
is not in it.
No.
She was my favorite part of the... Well, Bette Midler was my favorite part, but Thora Birch was the best of the kids. I did not like the kids. I truly, the only...
So it's Max?
Max,
and
Danny, and Allison.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank
then
you,
thanks.
Alexis. She's the real fan.
I also rewatched it this weekend. I was
Oh,
like, I need
perfect.
to-
You had to prep.
Yes.
Good. I have not seen it in 4 years. So all I have to go on is my negative Nancy review from 4 years ago. I know that I hated Max. I really didn't like Max. And I had some very specific ideas of how to improve
I thought you were like, how to kill him off for the
No,
sequel.
but you know what? I'm going to let you two talk a little bit about this. How do you feel I'm literally going to sit out because, frankly, I gave myself a headache listening to myself again. So I want to hear what you two major Hocus Pocus fans, you never thought this was going to happen. We're now 30 years past. I think it is the 30-year anniversary. Was it 92, 93?
I think it's next year because it came out in 93.
So about 30 years.
Yeah.
How are you two feeling? Talk to each other.
I think they look awesome.
No, I think they look great. The trailer looks super cute and fun.
So I haven't watched the trailer. I don't even know what this one is
You're just
about.
going in blind.
I don't know. I feel like even if it looked bad, I would be really excited. Like I just have this problem where I'm like, oh, Hocus Pocus, and I have like blinders on. So I'm excited. I'm kind of bummed the kids aren't in it.
I feel like they were like the heart.
Well,
and, like,
yeah.
Binks and Danny.
And I wonder if maybe because they're not children anymore, because obviously time has passed, so they would have been adults, and maybe that's why. I just don't know if it was just the new script, like, because again, I haven't seen the trailer, so I don't.
Why they made that decision.
Yeah, I assume they're going to explain why they're not in it. Unless they all died, I don't know.
They're probably yes, they died off screen.
Screen.
Sorry, I just wanted to interject. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were done talking.
No, I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, I'm excited for it. I mean, again, they look really good. And I was just excited. I'm just like, oh, the three of them together again. Yeah. But it could be terrible. I just don't know.
I think it's going to be hard to like get the same like charm.
The energy.
The first one and like the camp feel of it. I think it's really hard to recreate. But
Well,
I believe in the three of them because I just think they're amazing. But we will see.
I think also when you talk about camp, it's hard to replicate that without it just being like stupid and goofy in the modern day. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I'm excited, but it could be terrible.
Here's what I'm very curious about, if I may join this
Go ahead.
conversation. Because I was not a fan. One of the things we discussed is this a movie? Is Hocus Pocus a movie that you really needed to have grown up with? And my conclusion was I didn't really get anything from it watching it as an adult. And so I don't have a lot of emotional baggage tied into the sequel. I am genuinely, I'm more excited to reunite the three of us to do this episode. And I'm excited that this movie exists so we could do that. But in general, like, I don't have any expectations for it. And I wonder if the lack of fondness for the original will maybe... I wonder if the tables are going to be turned.
Yeah,
where I
you're
like
going to
it
be
and
so
you guys
into it. And
hate
we're
it.
like,
Yeah,
Be
you
like,
guys are like, no,
that was
they ruined all
disappointing.
this.
yeah.
And I
And then we'll get to hear you talk for an hour about
how much I loved it.
This is Shawn's redemption arc.
This is what the original Hocus Pocus should have been. So,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if it's not great or if I'm not super into it, I don't personally think it's going to change anything.
No,
I
for the
can
first
just kind
one,
of
yeah.
stick it on the shelf and ignore it. It's kind of how I feel about the Harry Potter movies versus the Fantastic Beasts movies. The new Fantastic Beasts movies exist. I don't like them, but it doesn't change how I feel about the original Harry Potter films, if that makes sense. And I kind of feel like, well, nowadays everything's rebooted. So you kind of have to take that approach with the things that you loved, especially if they can't do it justice.
Yeah.
So
Also, I was wondering, like, why now? Because people have wanted the second one for 30 years.
That's
so it's
true.
like, why this story? So I'm like, I have like high hopes but low hopes.
yeah,
I
don't know.
if I were to guess, and I don't know, I haven't looked at Wikipedia, I would guess that they saw an opportunity because of Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Like, streaming has really opened the doors for a lot of projects that maybe somebody might have been, because Hocus Pocus has a rabid fan following. Like, nowadays, I think you could look at doing a sequel and say, hey, that might actually make some money. But at the time, Hocus Pocus didn't make a whole ton of money. It wasn't super well received, and it wasn't until video that people were really into it. So part of me wonders if it was seen as more of a financial risk to do a Hocus Pocus 2 pre-pandemic, pre-streaming service explosion. And now, because of that flexibility, they're able to say, well, hey, now we really need, this is something that we don't have to do as expensively. We don't have to spend as much money to get it in theaters, and we can just put it on our streaming platform.
Yeah. And it pretty much promotes itself. So.
Yeah.
And you told me, what did you read that this is the biggest movie they've
debut
had?
for Disney Plus.
Which is crazy considering that, I guess I'd like to know, are they talking about films that debuted exclusively?
I think exclusively, and they didn't give numbers. They did it based off like the first 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
But that's still pretty impressive.
big,
That's
yeah.
a lot of people tuned into that.
my question is, are they talking about films that have only debuted on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
or
like
films that have simultaneously been released
like
theatrically.
Hamilton. Did it beat Hamilton? 'Cause
Like
that,
Hamilton
I feel like that was a
or,
pretty big draw.
Or does that go into a different category?
Yeah.
Was Black Widow one that they were? I think Black Widow.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that was in theaters. I think it was Disney Plus
for a little
first,
bit.
though, wasn't it?
I think it might have been theaters first and then Disney Plus a little bit after.
It was
It's still
yeah.
an accomplishment for sure. Like it's still like something. I was just going off on a tangent because I'm like, I wonder
you
what.
directed that towards me.
Yeah,
Like, I
because
was offended.
I realized me
Give us a
trying
call,
to come up
Disney.
with excuses makes it sound like I'm like, no, that's crazy. It couldn't have been the most. But like in all reality, it's a huge success for them. So clearly there was an audience for it. It did do really well, and maybe streaming numbers work out better than theatrical dollars.
And
would
do we
have.
think this is going to be like a trilogy? Like,
I
are they
was
leaving
wondering
the
that,
door
too. Are they
open?
gonna keep doing it?
Because
Like-
at the end of Hocus Pocus, they all die, but then there's a little teaser. There's a teaser of like the spell book.
Right,
Winifred's spell book is like it opens,
Oh,
so it kind
okay.
of gives you a like, oh, their essence is still there, and I'm assuming that will be the lead into this. We will see. But yeah, it's like, are they going to die again at the end of this, or are we just going to like keep going? I'm curious.
I think if I know Disney, they will leave the door open.
They're like, and now a 10-episode miniseries about the neighbor of the witches.
The neighbor. They'll do a prequel series of them as teenagers. They'll do one about
them in the 1600s.
Yes.
It's hard to be a
They'll do a
teenager.
Thora Birch side. Yeah, they'll have all the spinoffs and everything.
It'll be great.
If I know Disney.
It's the Hocus Pocus universe.
What do you two need from this experience to
Binks.
feel like this was?
Sorry.
I know. I'm just like, how do you not have Binks?
Yeah, and again, I haven't seen the trailer. I haven't been spoiled, and Binks obviously dies. Like everyone dies, so
Was
they,
it the
maybe
cat?
they-
The cat.
Yes,
Yeah.
Binks. I just want more
Zachary
Binks. I
Binks.
love Binks.
I think it's going to be hard because the three witches are back. They're going to be amazing. But the kids were the heart of the story. So it's like you have to get us invested in these new people. And I don't know. I'm already invested in the three Sanderson sisters, but
Yeah.
we'll see how they can pull that story in.
What I'm hoping, because my complaint about the first one was I didn't really like the kids. I love the witches.
I hadn't heard
and
that
wanted,
before.
I wanted the witches to be like, I was like, they're
everyone down and just-
yes, absolutely. But like, I wanted them to, they kind of they didn't really focus on this idea of like, oh, fish out of water. They're like, they don't know what's going on. They don't know where they are. They touch on it, but they don't commit to it fully.
Yeah.
There was a joke that I think you said, Alexis, about how they go to the dance and they immediately know how to use the microphones, and it's like they didn't know what a school bus was, but they know what
Oh, there
microphones
was like a
are.
joke about like pull over, show me your driver's license. And I'm like, where did you learn that?
Yeah,
in
what is
last
the
10
driver's
hours?
license? Yeah. So I hope that they are kind of the center, and in that case, that would solve the problem that you're worried about like, oh, these new kids, I don't care about them, and as long as the witches take center stage,
I
that'll
think they
make me
have
happy.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, what do I know?
Very curious. It's a different creative team than the first one. I think somebody who produced Hocus Pocus 1 is involved, but other than that, I think it's just the three of them, and for the most part, it's like, I think the woman who directed it, I can't remember her name, but she's done like episodes of This Is Us and some other TV and things like that. So we'll see. Maybe a fresh perspective is what's needed.
I'm gonna lose it if you
I know.
love
Shawn's
this.
amazing.
Well, let's go watch it, and we'll find out if you're going to indeed lose it, which I hope you do.
Now available to own on video cassette.
All right, we're back. We are all wearing blankets because for some reason it's freezing in this house now. We could turn on the heat, but we didn't. We're way too tired for that.
Yeah.
But all right, ladies, as the fangirls, the Hocus Pocus fangirls in this group, how do you feel?
I have mixed feelings.
I liked it.
Okay, Alexis, mixed feelings.
I love the Sanderson sisters. They carried the film, but it's just I was not emotionally attached to the new kids. I got more attached as it went on, but I think it's because the opening started with the Sanderson girls, so you didn't have like the build up to the new characters.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Sarah?
I liked it. I was
Okay.
actually surprised.
It was a lot better than I thought. I was very worried.
Well, I was laughing like right out of the
Shawn,
gate.
I have to say, Sean probably laughed the most.
I laughed a lot.
Sean cackled.
I did. I liked it more, but obviously, it would have been nice to watch the first one again just to see. I don't have I have fond memories of watching it with you too. I don't have super fond memories of the film itself, but I think my complaint about the first Hocus Pocus was I wasn't really into anything. And this one, at least, because they were back and they were into it and they were having fun, and Tony Hale was there to distract me, so
he was
certainly
great.
helped. But I think it was really fun to see them back again.
They seemed like they were having a blast. Like the actresses.
Yes. Five, they really went for
Oh,
it. It was
they
so good.
gave it their all, which I thought was
And like the
amazing.
drag queen competition.
Yes,
amazing.
that was so
I
good.
was glad they got another song and dance
Yes.
sequence into the film. That
Yeah.
was one of the things I really enjoyed about the first movie. But I agree about. I didn't like the kids in the first one at all, and these kids, I guess, at least there was a story there. I can't really remember the first one. It was like Max is just.
Well, he was new in town.
Yes.
His little sister, and I feel like everyone loved Danny so much. Her
I-
and Binks.
yeah.
I did like that they used the book as like the new Binks, because Disney, you always need like a pet sidekick.
Yes.
So you have
That
your
will
book
sell
sidekick,
many toys.
Oh, that's
for
a
sure.
good point. I didn't think about that, but yeah.
They could have had the cat be. What's his name again? Couldn't they? They could have just gotten a random voice, and he's like, "I'm back. I live in all black cats on Halloween," and come up with some excuse
That
for
cat
it.
still could have been him.
Yeah.
We don't really know.
It's true.
It seemed more, I don't know. It didn't seem like a regular cat.
I think, and now in the 21st century, we cannot show a cat being run over in film. Something, I
It'll
don't
make
know.
kids cry.
Yeah, that's something that was deeply disturbing about Hocus Pocus that was not in this film. But I think it kind of annoyed me that they, at the end, it felt like they were trying to tease, like we were joking about spin-offs and sequels, but then they actually were kind of going there.
We can do a third Black Candle. We can do a spinoff with a girl.
Yes, the girl, like them being like, "Oh, you're a witch now."
Although I do like that addition of like another witch. That was like a nice, fresh thing that the first one didn't have. Because
Yeah.
the kids in the first one had like magical powers.
I liked that. It was just hard to get. I think the kids, the actors were good. And they had nothing to work with as far
That's
as
what I
they
was
were
like-
really just there to be like, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. And also, we used to be friends, emotional subplot, kind of, but not really, sort of rushed.
I misread it completely
Oh,
at
and,
first,
like,
and I
they
thought
were
they
dating.
were ex-girlfriends,
Yes, I thought
and
so,
then
too.
she
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so I'm not.
No,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, interesting, cool.
At first, it was like, oh, it's progressive
and then now
Disney.
she's dating
Yeah.
this bumbly guy.
which we
and, you
love
know.
him. He's
Oh,
great.
I was
Patsy's
like, give
boyfriend?
him the spin-off.
He was the best. Yeah, they always make the wrong person the main character. They should have made him the main character.
He
in
was
this movie.
adorable.
Yeah.
Where did he end up? Is he still passed out in the street?
Oh yeah. We don't know what happened to him.
Did he? I was
I
like,
hope he
wait.
didn't get run over.
There was some.
No, because the three of them just
Yeah, they just walked off.
they strolled off. What happened to him?
Girl power. Get
Did
the
I
boys.
miss something?
That's
No.
it. Yeah, boys are dumb, girls rule, boys drool. Yeah, there were a lot of especially I think around the point of the Halloween festival, the movie got really cut happy. Like it felt like there were scenes missing, and the editing. It was almost like they were editing it live as we were watching it, and they realized we were getting tired and needed to record. So they're like, let's just cut really quickly together. So the movie started to feel more incoherent technically as it went on. Like there were moments where when Tony Hale was... I forgot that he really wanted an apple. So when they were showing those close-ups of him staring at people, I was like, what's the joke in here? And then when he was staring at the apple, I was like, am I missing something? I didn't know if that was supposed to be funny. And then his daughter is like, oh, my dad didn't get the apple. And I'm like, oh, that's right. So maybe it's me.
They had
but-
a lot of storylines going on, and they couldn't figure out which was the biggest one to go with.
And again, they should have focused on the witches, because they started with the witches, and they kind of introduced this idea of oh, we love each other, we have to stick together. They become witches, And then that woman at the beginning
So
who never
random.
appears again. Who was that? Was
Yeah,
that somebody?
why did she
Mother-
just give her magic book? Does she have another magic book?
She's
Just
credited
like
as like Mother Witch or something on
Hold
IMDb.
on. I want to see if this is like a. I'm now jumping on to.
She's in Ted Lasso.
I know, I love her. That's
So
great.
Hannah Waddingham.
Yes.
So yeah, I didn't know if she was like, okay, so she was in Game of Thrones. I couldn't tell if, like, I thought she was going to come back and be the villain at the
Well,
end.
she's like the crow. Like, you see her flying at the end towards the girls.
Okay.
So it's like there's another.
She's the
spin-off.
Mother Witch.
Okay, but I
It
thought
just
like
happened
it was
so fast.
Oh,
it was because
Shawn,
they spent
it's
so
okay.
much time on it. I was expecting her to come back and be like, the evil witch, and then the sisters would have to fight her. And then that didn't happen. They spent a lot of time in that flashback setting up.
Well,
this-
she doesn't have a coven. So she's just like the last witch, kind of.
yeah.
Or
It
the
was
first
confusing.
witch.
It was confusing.
I don't know. It just like
You need
thrown in
to
there real quick.
inference.
An inference. I made an inference.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest thing is I wish they had kept now that the witches aren't the focus, like they certainly take up a good amount of time and they again are the best part of the movie. I would have sacrificed the kids story and like setting up like
Well, that's why I think
potential
they had
spin-offs.
too much going on and they couldn't figure out what they wanted the focus to be.
Yeah, and at the end when they brought it back to like, oh, her sisters disappear and suddenly she realizes the error of her ways and that she loves it was like the payoff for the first scene, but then there's an hour and a half of a movie between.
They could have
that
cut
they
a bit.
don't that they don't reference that at all. And that was like it had a really nice like, oh, it's a nice little emotional punch, and I wish that the movie had been more focused on them and kind of maybe an emotional through line of like,
With
why
them,
are we
yeah.
doing this? Do we need to keep doing
Well, that's
this?
the thing is we don't have the original kids, so that emotional like aspect is gone, and all we have coming in are the witches. That's what you're emotionally attached to. You're not attached to the new girls, and it's just like they fought so hard to stay alive in the first movie, and then at the end they're like, deuces.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, oh, okay.
Goodbye.
Yeah, so I think that's I liked it, and
I mean, I'm gonna watch it every year.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun.
It was great.
yeah, it was really fun, and it didn't feel like you can obviously everyone has aged, but like there was still a sense of that energy and fun, and
I mean,
they
the
didn't feel like they
Walgreens
were.
bit was great.
Yes.
Oh,
so good.
eating the potions. Yeah,
Yes, that was great.
I think
And-
the first act, the first act of the movie was probably the strongest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I loved the kids they cast as the young Sanderson sisters.
Yeah,
like
they
I
were
thought they
fun.
were so funny.
Yeah.
It would have been nice. Maybe it should have
We'll
been a
do that.
movie.
We'll do a prequel.
No.
Let's-
Bring the kids. It
Disney
should have been a
call us
time
up.
travel movie where they cast a time travel spell where they're like, we wish we were young again, but then somebody bungles it and the young versions of themselves come back and then they have to. The young versions. I'm basically Disney pitching
Yeah.
Hocus Pocus 3. Let's just make it all about the Sanderson sisters and get rid of the human characters completely.
Do we know if the actors who play the kids, like didn't want to come back, or was this just they were taking a
I
totally
don't know.
fresh take on
I
it?
think they wanted to. I don't think they were asked back. I feel like if they had at least made a cameo, like
Yeah, that would've been fun.
anything.
Yeah, why wouldn't
Like-
you do that? Because it's like the movie. If you're gonna make a Hocus Pocus 2, you just make it shamelessly. Like here's the
Yeah.
cameos of everybody is
Yeah.
back. I'm looking. Did absolutely zero research.
I'm
before we
pretty
recorded
sure
this.
like they just weren't even asked back.
Yeah, so
That's a bummer if that's the case.
Well, it's interesting that they brought Doug Jones back, but then script. I don't even think there was any scenario in which they'd asked them to come back. Now, Thora Birch, I think she's like not acting anymore. I don't know. I don't remember who the other kids were in that movie, but I don't know.
I think Allison is still acting. whoever
Okay.
actress
Oh, she was
is.
approached to be in the sequel.
Oh,
Thora
really?
Birch was?
Well, yeah, this article says Thora Birch explains why Danny Dennison is not in Hocus Pocus 2. She was approached to be in the sequel.
What was her explanation?
It's a long article, guys.
Sounds like the classic clickbait.
okay.
She explains why. Oh, I didn't want to.
There were
It's like,
3 options we had for how to bring Danny back, all of which I was excited by, she shared, but by the time they got around to filming, I was on to something else.
I see.
Oh, that's a
Okay.
super bummer. Well, maybe if we get a Hocus Pocus 3, we'll get the kids back.
That's okay. And then Omri Katz is the one who played Max, my favorite cinematic protagonist, whose Wikipedia page does not even have a photo, but it does mention that as of February 2022, he operates a cannabis company. So that could come in handy as well. I did feel like Max was heading in that direction, to be completely honest. So
he is definitely a retired actor, like listed as a retired actor.
Sure, but I
Sure.
mean, Disney can be like,
Cute.
we're going to throw some money at you to appear in this movie.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming maybe Thora Birch was the get, and when that didn't work out, they just were like, well, we need to change that storyline.
And at the end of the day, it's like, we got the sisters, let's just if it was a scheduling thing and it was like, we have to work out the witches' schedules or the kids' schedules, but we can't do both, then it's like, well, commit to the Sanderson sisters and you're good. You can do without the kids. So it's weird because I liked this more, but thinking about it, like, compared to the first one in an odd way, like I can't remember much of the first one, but there was something weirdly maybe this one felt a bit more clinical than that one. Like, it kind of felt a little bit more stiff than the first one. Like, the first one I think is just like a random ass bonkers movie that like doesn't seem like, it seems like they like accidentally stumbled upon like great iconic performances in Bette Midler and the Three Witches, but the movie wasn't supposed to be super good. And this one has to now wrestle with the legacy of like a film that doesn't on paper really have a legacy or doesn't like earn the legacy, but because people love the first film so much, there's all of a sudden like this feeling of like, oh yeah, this one is not living up to the first one. I don't know. Am I crazy? Or am I
think
just
you're
really
just
cold?
psychoanalyzing this movie.
I feel like anyone who's a fan of it going in isn't going to be like, it's going to be just as good as the first one. Like, everyone is going to have a little bit of a lower expectation.
I think I laughed more in this one than the first
This
one,
one is
though.
for sure funnier. The first one's like scarier.
Yeah.
This one they like played into it. They were like, this is like the strong, like what
we're
do really good at.
We're middle aged.
Yeah.
Let's go for broke.
I agree. No, I just want to listen. I want to, because again, like I had nothing at stake here.
Also, can we talk about Gilbert
Oh.
and he wanted to bring them back, and then 1 second later he was like, I regret this.
He's
What?
a wackadoo. Like, what did you think would happen? You know about their entire history and that they want to eat children, but you're like, it's cool.
I was
like, bring them back.
What is happening with him and his storyline? And he was like, I saw them fly, and I was like, let's bring them back.
And then the kids forgiving him. I'd be like, no, you don't forgive that.
It was weird.
I could not figure that. I was like, either you're a villain or you're not. Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
I felt very mixed, conflicted about everything that wasn't the Sanderson sisters.
Yeah.
Because it was very like...
Except the mayor.
Well, the mayor was great.
Tony
Hill was great.
I feel like Tony Hill's going to be amazing in anything. Like, he's just wonderful.
Yeah. I think it's probably because once the Sanderson sisters get there, the movie knows that's what we want to see. And it kind of is like, all right, but these guys have to kind of push the plot along, and there has to be something about like stopping the Sanderson sisters. But I think it would have been better if the Sanderson sisters like start off as bad guys, and that woman from the beginning who never comes back again ends up being the big baddie, and they're like, oh, we don't want to do that. We don't want to destroy the world. There will be no more children to eat. And then they decide to be good and save Salem.
I don't know.
That would have been fun.
I see that. I just also don't need that much from this type of movie, to be honest. It's just like I kind of got what I wanted. I got like great costuming, like 3 fantastic women who made me laugh for like a good hour, like, you know, and then like the boyfriend was one of my favorite characters. He was so dumb and cute.
And to be fair, I spent a good 40 minutes of the first Hocus Pocus episode deconstructing and rebuilding the plot and script according to my specifications.
You care too much.
And I don't.
Lay your burden down.
I listened to that episode and I was like, God, just shut up. So I'm as I talk right now, trying to explain what I wanted in Hocus Pocus 2. I also recognize that it's like, it doesn't really matter.
No.
But if somebody gave me that job, that's what I would have done.
Does anyone know what it has on Rotten Tomatoes? I'm just curious.
I think it was like
Is it
60
like
something.
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems about
So
right.
fresh
Yeah.
60 or
Yeah.
like a rotten 60?
It's
Okay.
like, fine. The reviews are fine.
Yeah,
The first
okay.
movie didn't have good reviews. Like,
No, it was like super rotten. Or
Yeah.
at least on the critic. The audience was probably higher.
Yeah, the
but-
audience loves it. Hocus Pocus 2, and this does feel like a little bit more like it's more functional as a movie, whereas I remember the first one kind of feeling like I was very confused about what it was trying to do. So this
so
one
cute.
at least was...
It's like, where am I? What's happening?
That's what I'm typically like, not just watching these movies, but in general. I don't even know what we're doing right now. I wish I was asleep. But I really do, like this one felt a little more focused, a little more refined. And oddly, in a way, I think that's what I was saying when I was like, it felt a little bit more sterile. Like I almost missed the sloppy slapdash nature of the first movie.
Yeah.
Does that sound right? Or
So
am I
we need to
crazy?
revisit.
It sounds like I need to
Focus.
revisit, but I don't
Yeah.
think I'm going to like it based on what my four-year-old self, my 4 years ago self. It's so strange to listen to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like 4 years it seems like a long time because it is a long time, but I think COVID has thrown me off completely. But even listening to myself and opinions 4 years ago, I'm like, I know you, but I don't fully understand you.
I think you need to give it some time, and you're going to come back in 5 years and go, what was I thinking? It's a cinematic masterpiece.
Well, I had such a
'Cause
fondness
you've-
for seeing them
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
And I did laugh.
Yeah.
Like I laughed
Yeah.
a
No,
lot.
you
But
laughed
it was
more than
genuinely funny. Like
Yeah.
I didn't think the first one was super funny. But
No,
I
this
don't
one
think
they
it was
leaned
trying.
in.
Yeah, they went full.
But they like did well with it, which
and
is
the
nice.
little dance sequence
Yes.
was great. And then
Yeah.
Tony Hale was like, "What's this?"
I know. I think that was one of my favorite
Yeah.
scenes where he's like, "Oh, okay. I wish I knew the moves."
yeah, there were so many like throwaway lines that on paper probably just read like, all right, just say it normally, and then Tony Hale's
yeah.
line
He's
readings.
so good.
I
Like
mean, him as the
I'll
Reverend.
I'll watch the spin-off show
Yeah.
of him just ranting about like caramel apples
Yeah.
all day. No problem.
Oh, and also like the comment, like the Gothic Golden Girls. I'm like, that's great.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a great line.
That was fantastic.
I also like so Doug Jones. They bring him back, which was fun, and he joins up with what was the guy's name? Gilbert. And that felt really choppy too. Like
Yeah,
they were
that was-
like,
Well, they
running
would
around.
disappear off camera and do things, and you wouldn't really know.
Well, then
And
they
then
were
they'd
checking
come
off
back
the
and be like,
list, and I was even like, "Wait, what is he doing?" Oh, that's
Because
right,
Gilbert
he's a
had
bad
to-
guy.
Yeah.
But like again, like you said, he
But
felt
it's
bad about
because
it.
the witches gave him that mission like an hour and 15 minutes prior in the film.
Yeah.
So you're just like, you kind of forget about them.
And then Doug Jones shows up and is like, "I'm going to help you," and it's like, "All right,
Okay.
I guess, yeah, sure,
Sure.
You have to shoehorn him into the movie somehow." So, but it felt that's. I think if I'm looking at this with my film snob glasses, that's Sarah just made a face at me. I'm sorry. What
You don't
what?
look at anything without those glasses on.
I don't. Yeah, no, it's
right
true.
now.
It's
Yeah, you
true.
should-
It's
yeah.
like drunk goggles where
Yeah.
I don't know where I am or what I'm saying, but I just start spouting nonsense. So but you said you've been pretty positive about the movie. Why do you feel? You said you were mixed. Alexis, explain.
It's because of the kids.
The kids, okay.
The kids in the first film with Binks is like the heart of the film.
Okay.
And then the heart of this film is now the Sanderson sisters, but yet they're still trying to make you to like these kids. And you're like, I don't know about them. Let's have the Sanderson sisters just take over Salem. Why not?
It's like a slasher movie where you're like, I don't care if
Yeah.
Jason or
No.
Freddy or whoever murders these people. I don't need to spend that much time with them. It's kind of like that. So it is very similar to other Halloween movies in that respect, where you do want the witches to murder and win.
Yeah.
Because the
Just
kids aren't
I just
interesting.
wish there's a little more children eating in this one.
I know.
Just
Well,
a
it's
smidge.
'cause the Gilbert bit where he has to find all the things, that was like what they did in the first film.
Yeah.
Is they had to like hunt down all the stuff to make the potion to kill the children. And they were
Right.
like, we just want them to perform, have a good time, you know? So they passed that off
That's
to
right.
Billy and Gilbert.
Yeah. So that's it. That's what it was. If it could have, it doesn't need. They wrote one draft or two drafts of the script. They knew what they had. They knew
Yeah.
what they needed. They just wanted scenes where their Sanderson sisters are back. Bette Midler is signed on. They're all into it. So just come up with something, and we'll.
I was just happy. It just seemed like I can forgive a lot because the three actresses looked like they genuinely had a fun time. Yeah, like I don't know what their personal relationships are like, but I don't think you can fake that. Like they just look like they were doing
really
so much fun. Yeah,
that was really cool.
That was probably my favorite part. Just their chemistry.
That's why I was like, we didn't need Gilbert.
Yeah,
we
don't need
it. Don't need all these other people.
Well, the movie's like it's like almost 2 hours.
Yeah, it was a little long in the tooth. They could have like chopped 20 minutes minimum, I think.
I mean, really, Tony Hale should have been like...
He should have been the main character.
Yeah, he was great.
He should have been...
They should have paired Tony Hale with the boyfriend. Like that would have been fun.
But what about this? How funny would it have been if like the spirit, the ghost of the Reverend possessed Tony Hale?
Oh my God, that would have been great.
Like,
that would have been
why
great.
don't you do that? You know why you don't do that? Because Disney's like, we're not paying you to write. We're just paying you to put some words on a script, and we're gonna take this.
That was a great idea.
Those are some fighting words, Shawn.
They are strong fighting words. That's what the second and third act of the movie feel like, though. You even said as much.
Yeah.
It
The
feels
first
like
act, it goes like first, second word. I mean, third. What am I saying? I'm not go back.
Strong first act, and then they gave up, and we're like,
I mean,
well,
goodbye.
They came out singing, and then they're like, who are they performing for? And they were like, you. And I was like, oh, so good.
So good.
You explained that so well.
Yeah. So we don't need to. Is there anything else?
I don't really
enjoyed it. Worth the 30-year wait.
Yeah, and I would watch it again for sure.
I'm gonna every time I watch Hocus Pocus.
That I think is the biggest accomplishment is that it's like, oh, I don't feel like I'm gonna be miserable because there are movies that like
I like that miserable is your
drag.
threshold.
I can't.
And you're like,
well, you know, I can't think of a good example, which sucks. But like there are movies where it's like, oh, 30 years later we made a sequel. And you wanted it to be great, but it wasn't great. And then it's kind of like, I don't want to have to watch this one and think about that one. But Hocus Pocus 2 joins the ranks of Top Gun Maverick, where you can now feel happy that you're 30 years apart. In Bill and Ted,
We've had a couple really fun ones.
So there have been some better examples. I can't think of a bad example. Maybe there are no bad examples.
No, there
this
is.
Again is just
I just can't think of it because I feel like you and I have had this conversation. We're like, oh, why did they make that?
Yeah.
But now I can't.
So
remember.
That's it.
That's it.
Is that all we have to say?
Do you have things to say?
No, I've said enough in the first episode. I think I've said more than enough this time around.
I'm good. Like
You're good?
I'm ready
Alexis,
for.
anything?
I loved it.
It's a
HP3,
big thumbs up from
bring it on.
everybody. Yeah, do another one.
The sequel.
Sure.
How old are the ladies now?
Probably in their 50s.
I would think
Bette
some of them
Midler,
are
I
plus.
think, is older.
Yeah.
Or plus. They're plus.
Well, Sarah's
They're
probably on the
they're
younger
so old.
side.
They're not even an age. They're just a plus.
But
No, that's
they
rude.
look great.
Oh,
30
yeah.
years later.
Oh, so Bette
Hell
Midler is
yeah.
75, 76 when she shot this.
She can
probably.
move.
Yeah, she was. I mean,
Dang.
she was really like you could hear it in her voice, but she was still moving. She was still having a great time.
Oh, also the selfie bit. What a great moment. And I
that's
love
right.
how
When they
show
all
you how to
pose.
take a selfie. There's the duck face with SGP.
That was great.
So good.
That was so
It's
good.
funny. So it goes oldest to youngest. It's Bette is 76, and then Kathy is 65, and then Sarah is 55. So they're a
Wow.
decade
10
apart, each of them.
That's amazing.
So in the beginning, if she turned 16, SJP wouldn't even been born.
No, not in real life.
This is not real. Sorry.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Like, this is not real age.
Welcome
I'm
back.
getting too serious now.
I
Stop
no,
using that Shawn logic on things.
I'm gonna take these glasses off.
Please stop. Please stop. There was big Sanderson sister energy, and I appreciated it, and they were committed, and there was no sign of like, they may be older, but it felt like that same energy and love and excitement they had
They
in the
were
first
doing
movie.
it for the fans.
They
You
were,
could
and
tell
it was
for
not
time.
cashed in. It felt
No.
like if the script cashed in a little bit and maybe the production design and some other elements did, they did not. They were here.
Well, and it's
they were
like
committed.
That bit where they would be like, "Who's your favorite? Is it me? Am I your idol?" It's like they knew we were all watching
knew,
it for
yeah.
them, and everyone has their favorite Sanderson.
That's right.
Wait, what's your favorite Sanderson? Who are you?
Oh, Winnie.
Winnie's still my favorite.
Yeah. Who's your
Fun fact.
I
favorite?
mean, SJP.
Yeah.
I just
So good.
they were all great. They all had little moments. Like I remember
Yeah.
loving Bette Midler in the first one and not really caring so much about the other two, but all three of them were great in this one.
Yeah.
So more credit to them.
And they love each other.
They love
Oh,
each
and the
other.
little Roombas, guys.
Oh, the Roombas were great. Yes, they were great.
She took off on a Swiffer jet.
Yes, that was fantastic. Walgreens paid some decent money
did.
to make a weird cameo in this movie. We have to go to Walgreens.
Yeah.
Walgreens is open at all hours.
Yeah,
It
and
was
even
just
the mayor was like, I
Walgreens.
ended up at Walgreens.
Yeah, that was very, very strange.
I
And
bet it'll pay off for them.
yes,
Yeah,
I think
I'm
in
sure.
spades they will be getting lots of trick-or-treaters looking for Sanderson sisters
Trying
in
to
their
drink
aisles.
that baby face
Trying to
lotion.
drink-
Yum.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad we're all happy, and I guess our ratings. Well, how many Sanderson sisters would you give it? With 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. Sarah.
4.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what you gave Hocus Pocus. I remember
Good
because
to
I'm the
know.
only one who did the research.
I don't
on
remember.
You
the
haven't
episode.
changed.
How do you feel, Alexis?
I'm going to go 4 too.
Oh, all right. So she said 5 last time.
I just-
and now
yeah,
she said
take it.
4.
What did you say last
I gave
time?
Hocus Pocus 1.5.
Oh my God.
I'll give this
Get
one
out.
3.
Get out of here. We're
Same.
just done with you.
I know. I'm so sorry. That's a pretty impressive. That's a pretty
That's a
impressive
good jump.
improvement from the first one. So I will say that much. This is great. Let's meet again in 4 years for Hocus Pocus 3. Mm-hmm. And we talked a lot in the first episode. I just want to say we talked about doing Idle Hands, which I hadn't seen at the time, but I have seen now, unfortunately. Sarah sat me down to watch that. There was another one we were talking about doing in that episode, and I can't remember, but I know we were talking about Barbie because I know you, Sarah,
yes.
for some reason
This is
is
a big
really angry at the
controversy in this
Barbie
house.
movie.
It's just not for me, guys. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
It is Ryan Gosling. He can do no
Ryan
wrong.
Gosling,
As
Greta Gerwig, Noah Baumbach is writing with her.
He looks so strange with blonde hair and tan skin. It feels
I don't
weird
even
to
know who
me.
you are anymore. These are all the reasons
You've
I
been
want
body
to see the
snatched.
movie. Yes.
yeah.
So-
For the Ken underwear alone.
Oh gosh, I don't
social
know.
media shout outs. Social media.
Nope.
Nope.
No.
Nope. Well, I'll tell you guys where you can find me. All you Hocus Pocus fans who can't wait to hear more about my opinions. I am at Yay Shawn Dorman on Twitter, which I really have not been using lately. Sorry.
I just
Twitter.
don't. I have it. I just don't use it. Does
Yeah,
that count?
I'm out
I
there.
don't know.
If you talk to me on Twitter, I'll talk to you. I'm also on Letterboxd. it's Shawn Dorman 05 on Letterboxd. You'll see the 3 stars.
I think we
rating
recorded
very
this
soon.
too late
Too
at
late.
night.
10, 12 on a weeknight. Thank you both. What a delight
Thank
to do this
you.
again. I had a blast. And thank you everyone for listening. We will see you at the movies.